Her family, the loyal Shen clan, was falsely accused of treason and completely annihilated in a single night. In the desolate cold palace, Shen Miao knelt before Chief Eunuch Li, who was urging her to hang herself. Her voice was hoarse as if torn apart. "Little Li, when I promoted you, you were nothing but Chief Eunuch Gao's lapdog." The eunuch held out a white silk ribbon, his chin raised arrogantly. "Your Majesty, times have changed. Please hurry. I still need to report back to the Emperor." Shen Miao froze for a second, then burst into laughter. The servants and officials who once groveled before her could now order her around. What a perfect example of how times change. The door to the room was pushed open. Emperor Fu Shuyi stood before her, his expression cold. "For the 20 years you stood by my side, I'll grant you an intact corpse. You may thank me for this mercy." That voice, the one etched into her soul, sent a chill deep into her bones. This was the husband she had loved for 20 years, the man she had weathered every storm with. And now he was saying to her, "I'll grant you an intact corpse. You may thank me." Why? "My Shen family helped you ascend the throne. When the Xiongnu invaded, I wrote the surrender letter to negotiate with their envoy. When you needed to sway the court officials, I knelt and begged for their support. When Consort Mei wanted my daughter Wan Yu to marry, you agreed, and Wan Yu died of illness at just 16. You favored your son Fu Sheng and neglected my son Fuming. Everyone in the court knew, and now you've slaughtered my entire family. Facing death, I only want to ask you one thing. Why?" Her litany of accomplishments didn't move Fu Shuyi in the slightest. He remained as cold as an ice statue. "When my father was alive, he planned to deal with the great families. The Shen clan's power surpassed the throne itself. They couldn't be allowed to exist forever. I convinced him to spare your family for 20 years. That was a divine favor." His words ripped apart her already broken heart, leaving only festering pain. A terrifying hatred surged within her. "Why did you spare the Shen family? That wasn't mercy, nor was it a favor. You only wanted to exploit our military strength to secure your throne. Kill the rabbit, cook the dog. Now that the empire is stable, you've burned the bridge behind you. Fu Shuyi, you're a heartless monster." As if she'd struck a nerve, Fu Shuyi roared and slapped her hard across the face. "Know your place," he snarled, then stormed out. Shen Miao collapsed to the floor, biting her lip until it bled. This was the man she had loved her entire life. All his sweet words from before were just an act, a cruel joke. Overcome with rage, she coughed up a mouthful of blood and began to laugh. A sweet, melodious voice sounded from behind. "Dear sister, what's happened to you? You look absolutely pathetic." The speaker was Consort Mei, the favored concubine Shen Miao had fought against her whole life, and clearly lost to. Shen Miao saw two palace maids standing behind Consort Mei and froze in shock. Shen Qing, Shen Yue. They were her cousins, daughters of the second and third branches of the Shen family. What were they doing in the palace? Shen Yue covered her mouth, giggling. "All these years, our dear Shen Miao has been so eager to arrange marriages for us. Now you don't need to worry anymore. His Majesty treats us very well." Things that had never been clear to Shen Miao suddenly clicked into place. "You two refused to marry all this time? For today?" Shen Qing smiled, her eyebrows arching. "Of course. His Majesty made a deal with my father and third uncle long ago. As long as they convinced you to marry him, we sisters would share the same fate one day. His Majesty is so handsome, we've admired him for ages. But only your father held real power, so we had to let you go first, Shen Miao." A burning question blazed in Shen Miao's mind. She shouted, "Shen Qing! The Shen family was destroyed, yet you two are still in the palace. How did the second and third branches escape unharmed?" Shen Qing laughed loudly. "Because we were the ones who made it happen, obviously. The evidence of your father's so-called treason? Our families provided it, a noble act of putting justice above kinship." Shen Miao stared at her cousins in shock. "You're insane. When the nest falls, no egg stays unbroken. Fu Shuyi wanted to wipe out the entire Shen family, and you helped him frame your own kin." Shen Qing suddenly grabbed Shen Miao's chin, her voice cold and mocking. "Our kin? Shen Miao, we never considered your family our kin. Now the crown prince is dead, the princess is gone, and the Shen family is finished. You should hurry to the underworld to reunite with them." Consort Mei stepped forward, smiling gracefully. "Sister, the empire is stable now. It's time for you to rest." Shen Miao had fought for a decade, only to lose completely and become a laughingstock of fate. Consort Mei nodded to the eunuch. "Chief Eunuch Li, carry on." The plump eunuch stepped forward. He looped the white silk ribbon around Shen Miao's neck and pulled tightly. Shen Miao's heart screamed with defiance, but she was too weak to struggle. As her vision blurred, she silently swore a venomous oath. "My son, my daughter, my parents, my brother, My servants, my entire Shen family, all slaughtered. Fu Shuyi, Consort Mei, Shen Qing, Shen Yue, all of you who harmed me, who harmed my family. If there's an afterlife, I'll repay this debt in blood. The scene shifted, a room filled with a faint, pleasant fragrance. Shen Miao's maid, Jingjae, was frantic. Gu Yu, it's been nearly an hour. Why hasn't the doctor arrived? Gu Yu glanced at the figure on the bed. Bailu and Shuangjiang went to find the doctor, but they're not back yet. Do you think someone's stopping them? Are they trying to kill the young miss? No, I'm going to check myself. The moment she finished speaking, a faint sound came from the bed. Jingji cried out in joy, "The young miss is awake!" Shen Miao saw her maids, who should have been dead, and felt a strange sense of disorientation. Jingji, she whispered. Jingji smiled. It's me. Are you feeling better, young miss? Guyu offered her a cup of tea. Young miss, would you like some water? Shen Miao stared at the two of them, her loyal, devoted maids, and tears began streaming down her cheeks. Was this a hallucination before death? It felt too real. Jingji reached out to touch Shen Miao's forehead. The hand on her brow was cool, the sensation startlingly real. Shen Miao's eyes widened. She looked at her hands. They were soft, fair, and delicate. These aren't my hands, she thought. Her hands had been roughened from handling court documents for Fu Xiuyi and worn from washing clothes in the cold palace. They couldn't possibly look this delicate. A thought sparked. She sat up abruptly and ordered, "Bring me a mirror." The girl in the bronze mirror had a round face and large almond-shaped eyes, slightly red. It was a face still full of youthful innocence. She wasn't a stunning beauty, but she was fresh and lovely. This was how she looked in her youth, obedient and shy. A tidal wave surged through Shen Miao's mind. She touched her face, a face nearly 10 years younger, as two hot tears rolled down her cheeks. The heavens haven't abandoned me. I've come back! Before the disaster, before everything went wrong. This time I'll protect my family, I'll have my revenge, and I'll claim my share of this empire. She eagerly asked Jingjae, "What year is it today?" Jingjae looked puzzled, but answered dutifully, "It's the 68th year of the Ming-Qi dynasty." "Why are you crying, young miss? Are you feeling unwell?" Now Shen Miao was certain. She had truly been reborn. The 68th year of Ming-Qi was the year she was 14. That was the year she met and fell deeply in love with Fu Xiuyi, even begging her father to let her marry him. Most of her past life had been spent working for Fu Xiuyi, so she remembered everything about him with perfect clarity. The reason she was lying in bed now was because she had fallen into a lake. Her cousin, Shen Qing, had told her that Fu Xiuyi would be visiting the second and third branches at the Shen residence. She had dragged Shen Miao to the garden to spy on him, then pushed her into the pond. Because her infatuation with Prince Ding was the talk of the capital, the incident was seen as a deliberate attempt to seduce him. And the Shen family became a laughingstock in the eyes of the officials present. The Shen family had 3 branches. The first branch, led by her father, Shen Xin, was the son of the old general and his first wife. After the first wife passed away, the old general remarried, and his second wife gave birth to the heads of the second and third branches, Shen Gui and Shen Wan. When the old general passed away, his second wife became the current old Madame Shen. The Shen family was a lineage of military generals, but only her father, Shen Xin, held command over the military. The second and third branches had become civil officials, no strangers to behind-the-scenes scheming. Because her father was always occupied with military campaigns, and her mother, Lady Shen, accompanied him, Shen Miao was left in the capital to be raised directly by old Madame and her 2 aunts. The result of this upbringing was that she became an ignorant, brazen man-chaser. This deliberate sabotage had ruined her reputation in her past life. But back then, she was blind to their strategy of spoiling her to ruin, genuinely believing her grandmother and aunts loved her dearly. In this life, she was eager to see how they'd play their shameless tricks again. While she was thinking, a maid sweeping the courtyard rushed in. "Young miss, second young miss is here to visit you." Jingjae and Guyu both looked displeased. Coming at a time like this? The young miss hasn't even recovered. Aren't they worried she'll catch a cold? Shen Miao let out a quiet sigh of relief. It was good to have loyal maids by her side. Shen Yue walked in, feigning concern. "Shen Miao, are you feeling better? I was so worried when I heard you fell into the water. As soon as I heard you were awake, I rushed over. Big sister made a mistake that day. Please forgive her. She didn't mean to embarrass you in front of Prince Ding." Shen Miao stared at her. Here it begins, she thought. Using fake apologies to stir up conflict between her and Shen Qing. The script was the same as last time. Mentioning Prince Ding had made her furious before, and she'd run to complain to old Madame, who naturally sided with the other families and scolded her harshly. Shen Miao blinked, her expression gentle. You're too kind, second sister. It had nothing to do with big sister. I just slipped. Shen Yue frowned slightly. This was odd. Facing Shen Miao today, she felt an inexplicable sense of intimidation. This wasn't the reaction of a clumsy, foolish girl. Of course, she didn't know that the girl before her was no longer a pawn to be manipulated. This was Shen Miao, who had survived palace intrigues, wars, the loss of her children, and the destruction of her family. This was the former empress of Ming-Chi, who once held supreme authority over the 6 palaces. After a brief pause, Shen Yue tried again. Shen Miao, you don't have to force yourself. Shen Miao cut her off with a smile. Why would I force myself? It's no big deal. My head's still a bit dizzy, so I'd like to rest more. Let's talk tomorrow, okay? After Shen Yue left, Guyu spoke cautiously. Second young miss doesn't have good intentions. You were the one pushed, yet she came here to plead for first young miss. But the way she said it didn't sound like pleading at all. Shen Miao said softly. When the snipe and the clam fight, the fisherman profits. She probably wants to be the fisherman. Guyu's eyes lit up in surprise. Young miss, have you finally seen through their true colors? Shen Miao understood why Shen Yue was deliberately provoking her. Both were infatuated with Prince Ding. In her past life, Shen Yue and Shen Qing had confessed their long-standing admiration for Fu Shuyi. Looking back, the signs had always been there. Since both sisters were smitten with Fu Shuyi, wouldn't it be a shame if she didn't help them achieve their dreams this time? The blood debt owed by the second and third branches to her family would start being repaid today. Shen Miao was about to lie down when Jingji rushed in. Young miss, they're calling you to Rongjing Hall. Guyu muttered angrily. The young miss just woke up, and her body's still weak. Can't they wait before starting to torment her? Shen Miao knew old madam was summoning her to scold her, but today's Shen Miao wasn't afraid. She only instructed her maids to help her dress and fix her hair. Rongjing Hall was already full, presenting a picture of family harmony. As soon as Shen Miao entered, Shen Yue smiled. Shen Miao, you're a bit late. 7th brother has nearly eaten all the steamed cakes. Shen Miao calmly replied, I haven't fully recovered yet, and I felt a bit dizzy on the way. I had to stop and rest, so I was delayed. Her meaning was clear. You called me here while I'm still sick just to pay my respects. As she expected, everyone in the hall paused. They all sensed that Shen Miao was different today. It was as if she had gained a unique, commanding presence overnight. Old Madame Shen asked if her granddaughter was feeling better, and Shen Miao politely replied she was much improved and thanked her, though she knew in her heart that the old woman was a scheming former courtesan turned old madam. The very next second, old madam knocked a plate of cakes off the table and roared, You unfilial brat! Kneel! Shen Miao calmly said she didn't know what she had done wrong, shocking everyone since she had always been timid and never dared to defy old madam. Today, Shen Miao refused to kneel, prompting second aunt to immediately scold her, accusing her of disrespect and talking back to elders. Old madam continued her tirade. You foolish girl! At your age, shamelessly spying on Prince Ding. You've disgraced the entire Shen family. Shen Miao tilted her head, feigning confusion. Spying on Prince Ding? Seeing this, Shen Yue quickly chimed in to reinforce the accusation. Shen Miao, you were spying on Prince Ding because you admire him, and then you fell into the water. It really harmed our family's reputation. You should find a chance to apologize to His Highness. Shen Yue was setting a trap, but Shen Miao didn't take the bait. Second sister, please don't say such things. I'm a young lady of marriageable age. Those words could ruin my reputation. Seeing her deny it, Shen Yue pressed further. Shen Miao, we're all family here. It's not a big deal. Shen Miao cut her off, her voice suddenly sharp and loud. Second sister, watch your words. A careless tongue can cause great trouble. Prince Ding is royalty. As a noble family, we must be especially careful with our words. Perhaps in the past I was young and did things that caused misunderstandings. From now on, I'll be mindful of my behavior. I hope everyone else will avoid saying such things too. Her change in demeanor stunned everyone in the room. They worried she was becoming assertive and slipping out of their control. Third aunt, seeing her daughter Shen Yue flustered, tried to keep a gentle tone, advising Shen Miao to be obedient, and whether she admired him or not, she should apologize to Prince Ding due to his high status. Old Madam chimed in. Exactly. Tomorrow send a letter to Prince Ding's residence and go apologize in person. Shen Miao nearly laughed out loud. Only the naive girl from her past life would have fallen for that trap. She, the legitimate daughter of a military general, going to a prince's residence to apologize? She turned to Shen Qing, who had been silent. Big sister, you were the only one with me when I fell into the water. Did you see Prince Ding? Shen Qing nodded calmly. Yes. She had decided that if Shen Miao accused her of pushing, she'd flatly deny it. Old Madam would surely take her side, and Shen Miao would only face harsher punishment. Shen Miao didn't respond to the advice, instead calmly stating the truth. She and Big Sister were playing by the lake. She accidentally fell in, and it just so happened Prince Ding was visiting to pick up a painting, so he saw everything. If I was spying on him, how would I know he was coming? I can't predict the future. Did Prince Ding send an invitation to our family? Shen Ting couldn't figure out what Shen Miao was up to. Before she could speak, her mother suddenly shouted, "Be quiet!" Her voice was filled with undisguised panic. They didn't dare continue framing her. Second aunt quickly changed her tone, agreeing that Shen Miao was right, suggesting it was just a misunderstanding and that the magnanimous Prince Ding wouldn't care about a childish mishap. Third aunt smiled in agreement, instructing Shen Yue and Shen Qing not to bring it up again, as it was just an accident Prince Ding happened to witness. Everyone reassured her that old madam was only concerned for her, not truly angry. Shen Miao smiled inwardly, knowing they understood the implication in her words. She had deftly turned a personal reputation issue into a matter of a vassal's loyalty. Even if Fu Shuyi was just stopping by to collect a painting from a bet, who knew if the emperor had spies in the Shen residence? What would they think if they heard her words? But since they wanted to trample her reputation, she'd gamble with the heads of her uncles, Shen Gui and Shen Wan. She wondered if her aunts realized that. Would they dare take the risk? She smiled. Now I understand. So third aunt agrees I didn't do anything wrong. Third aunt affectionately took Shen Miao's hand. Still, you were careless to fall into the lake. How are your maids taking care of you? Just because your parents aren't here, they've gotten lazy and disrespectful. They should be replaced. Second aunt smirked. Her sister-in-law was truly clever. Her daughter, Shen Yue, was also of marriageable age. No matter how foolish Shen Miao's reputation was, Shen Yue's status was still far lower. After all, Shen Xin was the one who held military power. Most of the maids and servants in Shen Miao's courtyard had already been replaced. If they even sent away her closest maids? Shen Miao pulled her hand back, feigning innocence. Lately, so many people in my courtyard have been replaced. I don't even recognize the second-rank maids who just arrived. If you replace the few left by my parents, I'll have no one to talk to in West Courtyard anymore. Second aunt's smile froze. If word got out that the first branch's daughter didn't even know her own servants, the second and third branches would be accused of malicious intent. She quickly nudged third aunt aside and smiled warmly at Shen Miao. Your third aunt was just joking. Guyu and the others were only a bit careless. Old madam declared that the Shen family was always benevolent and wouldn't do something so cruel, telling Shen Miao not to worry. Third aunt, realizing her mistake, quietly backed down. Seeing she couldn't bully Shen Miao today, old madam waved her hand impatiently. Enough! Everyone's dismissed. As Shen Miao left, third aunt watched her, feeling increasingly uneasy. Shen Miao had always dressed plainly. But today, though her appearance seemed the same, she somehow exuded a commanding presence, almost regal. Back in her courtyard, Shen Miao ordered Guyu to prepare a carriage. Tomorrow she would go to Guangwen Academy. This time, Shen Yue and Shen Qing's title of talented ladies would change hands. For the young nobles of the Mingqi dynasty, being admitted to Guangwen Academy was a great honor. As soon as Shen Yue reached the gate, people warmly greeted her. Shen Yue, why isn't Shen Miao with you today? Yi Peilan deliberately raised her voice. She's probably too embarrassed to show her face. I heard she fell into the lake trying to spy on Prince Ding. Shen Yue pretended to defend her. That's not true. Yi Peilan and the others thought she was too kind. Shen Yue, you're too protective of your sister. A foolish girl like her doesn't seem like a Shen at all. With General Shen and his wife away from the capital, she's clearly been neglected. She has no manners or shame. Shen Yue denied that Shen Miao was neglected, saying she was always guided by her mother and second aunt, implying Shen Miao's brazen nature was innate. Yi Peilan also found it odd that Shen Miao was worlds apart from the accomplished Shen Yue and Shen Qing. A group of young men and women giggled. Just then someone shouted, "Look, it's Shen Miao!" Wearing a green cloak, Shen Miao approached, her expression calm and composed. Her face was the same, but there wasn't a trace of foolishness. Combined with her graceful posture, she radiated an elegant, dignified aura. Shen Yue, did your sister go mad from her illness? The girl who used to pile on gold and silver looks like a completely different person today. Jiang Kaijuan, unable to stand seeing Shen Miao look composed, tried to rattle her. Shen Miao, I heard you fell into the water. What, is your cold all better now? Shen Miao didn't want to waste time with them. She glanced at Jiang Kaijuan and said flatly, I'm fine. Thanks for your concern. Then she walked past. Jiang Kaijuan, annoyed by her aloof attitude, blocked her path. If you're fine, shouldn't your first stop be to apologize to Prince Ding instead of coming to the academy? Don't you have your priorities mixed up? Shen Yue jumped in. saying Prince Ding wouldn't fuss over a small matter with Shen Miao, and that Shen Miao came to the academy because she craved knowledge. As soon as Shen Yue finished, Kai Lin, the eldest son of the Kai family, sneered and dismissed her excuse. He mocked that Shen Yue didn't need to use such a ridiculous pretext to defend Shen Miao, a girl who couldn't even recite the classics. Calling her knowledge-hungry was laughable. Besides, who knew if she fell into the water on purpose, hoping for a hero to save the damsel only to fail? After Kai Lin's jab, the boys around burst into laughter. Shen Miao was instantly surrounded by mocking words and malicious stares. But Shen Miao stayed calm. She'd heard far worse insults in her past life. Compared to her tragic end, what were these words? Shen Miao judged that the noble kids around her weren't her real enemies, just pawns stirred up by others to turn against her. She thought it unwise to turn potential allies into new foes over a moment's anger. Her voice was completely unfazed as she asked Kai Lin, "Who told you I fell into the water because I love Prince Ding?" Her direct and composed attitude threw Kai Lin off. Isn't that true?" Shen Miao called out Shen Yue and Shen Qing for not defending her. Remembering their mother's instructions, they quickly explained that Shen Miao only fell into the water by accident, and Prince Ding just happened to see it, with no romantic motives involved. Shen Miao continued, her expression serious. "You're talking about things you haven't seen with your own eyes. Guangwen Academy shouldn't just teach academics but character too. Besides, love is a beautiful thing. Why do you speak of it with such contempt? If I, Shen Miao, love someone, I'll love openly and honorably. Prince Ding is royalty, far beyond my reach. You're all mistaken." As soon as Shen Miao finished, she heard applause, praising that true love deserved respect. The applause came from Pei Lang, a young teacher around 20 at Guangwen Academy, where they taught not just academics, but also virtue. In her past life, Pei Lang had been just as gentle and patient. Compared to the stricter teachers, he was more respected by students. He also had a secret identity as Fu Shuyi's most trusted advisor. After Fu Shuyi took the throne, Pei Lang was appointed Grand Tutor. He excelled in that role. Shen Miao had once been close to Pei Lang, who had suggested she go to the Qin state as a political hostage, claiming it was for the good of the Mingqi Empire and to help His Majesty resolve an urgent crisis. The entire empire would benefit from her sacrifice, and the people would be forever grateful. But in reality, when she returned after 5 years, she found Consort Mei had entered the palace. Pei Lang's subordinates, who once respected her, now treated her with suspicion. Shen Miao had believed Pei Lang was wise and upright. When her son was stripped of his title as crown prince, she even knelt to beg Pei Lang for help, trusting Fu Shuyi would listen to him. But Pei Lang only said, "Your Majesty, when the emperor has decided, I can do nothing. Times have changed. You must accept your fate." Shen Miao's eyes darkened as she looked at Pei Lang. Accept her fate? Even after being reborn, if she still had to submit, wouldn't that be the most hateful and tragic thing of all? Shen Miao was determined to fight to the end. Fu Shuyi hadn't yet won over Pei Lang, so she weighed her options, cut off their connection and win Pei Lang to her side, or eliminate him before he grew too powerful. As she strategized, Pei Lang noticed her gaze on him. Shen Miao lowered her head, her entire demeanor shifting. Pei Lang shook his head. How could a young girl have such an authoritative, murderous look? Shen Miao was known as the Academy's most foolish and timid student. He must have imagined it. Soon after, the day's classes ended. Shen Miao had only taken a few steps when Feng Anning, the legitimate daughter of the Feng family, caught up with her. "Shen Miao, are you possessed or something?" She felt like Shen Miao had become an entirely different person overnight, calm, confident, and graceful, with a composure far beyond her years. Feng Anning, annoyed by Shen Miao's silence, suspected she was ignoring her and asked if she was studying hard for the upcoming academy banquet. Shen Miao glanced at her and replied coolly that she'd never thought about competing, since she was always at the bottom. Feng Anning studied her closely. Was she really so deeply hurt? Could that explain her drastic personality change? Shen Miao smiled. "Yes." She said no more. The sound of a carriage echoed from outside. Yi Peilan and Zhang Kaijuan ran out to see. Shen Miao barely cared, but Feng Anning insisted on dragging her along. Outside, many students were already gasping in admiration. "So handsome, definitely not an ordinary guy. Who is he?" On a fine horse, a dashing young man appeared. The corner of his mouth curled into a faint smirk, but his eyes were cold and distant. It was Xia Jings, the young heir of Marquis Ding. Feng Anning whispered, "Shen Miao, look, it's really young Marquis Sai, just as handsome as the rumors say." A girl in the crowd, overly excited, boldly tossed a folded handkerchief like a flower toward him. Xia Jings caught it, held it in his hand, and flashed a charming smile. The girl who threw it beamed, her face flushing red. The next moment, Xia Jings straightened, his playful smile vanishing, and he let the handkerchief slip from his hand. It fell beneath the horse's hooves. The horse trampled it without hesitation. Shen Miao recalled the tragic fate of the Xi family in her past life and felt pity for the young man. If the Shen family was known for its forthright warriors, the Xi family, also wielding great military power, was an extraordinary clan. The previous emperor had deliberately pitted the Shen and Xi families against each other to maintain a balance of power. Her father, Shen Xin, and Xia Jingxing's father, Xia Ding, were always political rivals. Xia Jingxing's mother died early, and perhaps out of pity, Xi Ding indulged him, turning him into a reckless figure. Still, Xia Jingxing was brilliant and exceptional, admired by many girls, but to the imperial family, a clan like the Xis was always a thorn in their side. When the Xiongnu invaded, Xi Ding led his army into battle. The bold general, fearless his whole life, was ultimately defeated, his entire army wiped out. When Xi Ding was laid to rest, the people of the capital spontaneously lined the streets to pay their respects, and the entire nation mourned. This was a grave taboo for the imperial family. Soon after, the young Xia Jingxing was appointed to lead the army in his father's place. It wasn't his first time on the battlefield. Like all Xis, his martial prowess was enough to terrify enemies. Though he knew his father's death was shrouded in suspicion, he still accepted the imperial edict. Later, in a losing battle, he was exposed to the enemy and died, his body pierced with countless arrows. He was only 26. Father and son, both fallen on the battlefield. The people saw only the Xiongnu's cruelty and the general's bravery, not the dark undercurrent of conspiracy beneath the surface. The pity in Shen Miao's eyes was so evident that Xia Jingxing suddenly glanced over, his gaze meeting hers with an unreadable expression. Shen Miao quickly lowered her eyes, pretending to be shy. Just then, Kai Lin pushed through the crowd, holding a small cloth-wrapped package. "Young Marquise," he said respectfully, handing it to Xia Jingxing. "This is the rare medical text you asked me to find." The bully who had been arrogant with Shen Miao was now bowing and scraping before Xia Jingxing. Feng Anning whispered to Shen Miao, "Who do you think is better, young Marquis Xi or Prince Ding?" Shen Miao answered without hesitation. "Young Marquis Xi is far superior." Feng Anning was surprised. Shen Miao didn't bother explaining, her gaze following Xia Jingxing as he left. After the Xi family's fall, the Shen family would soon face its own disaster. The two families were like lips and teeth. If one fell, the other would feel the chill. Saving the Xi family, saving Xia Jingxing, would be another card in her hand. Perhaps it was time to make a deal with the Xis. Xia Jingxing rode to a tavern and tossed the package to a young man inside. "Don't ask me to do these errands again." The young man, Gao Yang, a descendant of a family of divine physicians, smiled. "Thanks. Looks like you've stirred up a commotion again. With your personality, you should get out more. Maybe you'll meet a nice girl. You're at the perfect age. Why are you always alone?" Xia Jingxing was used to his friend's serious exterior but dull inner life. He turned away, mildly annoyed, but the image of a pair of eyes, both pitying and helpless, flashed in his mind. When he looked back, she had pretended to be shy, lowering her face. That girl intrigued him. It was dark when Shen Miao returned to the Shen residence. As she reached West Courtyard, a warm voice called out, "Young miss, you're back. I was so worried when I heard you fell into the water. I was sick and couldn't visit, but seeing you're fine now, I'm finally relieved." The plump woman was Gui Momo, one of the household servants. As Shen Miao's former wet nurse, she acted like a tyrant in West Courtyard. Shen Miao knew Gui Momo had betrayed her long ago, tarnishing her brother's reputation, and responded coldly, "You've worked hard, Gui Momo." Gui Momo kept up her flattery. "Let me offer you some advice, young miss. Don't be too upset. A beautiful girl like you, Prince Ding is bound to notice you." Shen Miao's voice was icy as she cut her off. "Are you trying to ruin my reputation? Fine. Let's go ask old madam if the reputation of a general's daughter still means anything." Gui Momo panicked. The young miss was no longer easy to fool, and she'd just been publicly humiliated. Swallowing her anger, she tried to backtrack. "Your words are too harsh. I've been by your side for over a decade. How could I ever tarnish your good name?" Jingzi shouted, "How dare you! The young miss is your mistress! Gui Momo, you dare speak to her like that?" "It was my mistake just now. I've been with the young miss for years, treating her like my own daughter. Please don't be angry, young miss. It's not good for your health." Shen Miao's tone was indifferent. "Since you know you were wrong, I'll dock 3 months of your pay." With that, she ignored the stunned Gui Momo and walked into her room. She smirked inwardly. What would a penniless Gui Momo do? Of course, she'd run to East Courtyard to prove her loyalty. Shen Miao guessed right. Gui Momo hurried to Autumn Water Garden to report, and was immediately summoned by the second branch, tasked with checking on how young Miss Shen Miao is doing. She's probably upset about falling into the water. No matter what I do as her aunt, it seems to be wrong. I need you to find out what's going on. Guimomo caught her meaning instantly. Young Miss Shen Miao is so lucky to have your care, madam. But after this incident, her personality has changed a lot. She's become quite distant with me. Second aunt asked the question she really wanted answered. So, Guimomo, in your opinion, has her attitude toward Prince Ding changed? Guimomo gave the answer that would earn her the biggest reward. It seems young Miss Shen Miao wants to distance herself from Prince Ding. Today, she wouldn't let me mention his name. But I know her nature. I doubt she can give him up so easily. Her angry words shouldn't be taken seriously. Second aunt was very pleased with her spy and signaled a maid to bring a reward. Seeing the hefty bag of silver, Guimomo beamed and quickly tucked it away. Thank you, madam. I'll take my leave. After Guimomo left, Shenqing stepped out from behind a screen, her voice thick with undisguised anger. Mother, Shen Miao hasn't given up on Prince Ding. What should I do? Second aunt beckoned her closer. Don't worry, no one in this household outshines you. Shen Miao is a fool, not a threat. I have ways to deal with her. And ensure she never marries Prince Ding. As for you, keep an eye on that girl in Autumn Water Garden. Shenqing was surprised to hear her mother mention Shen Yue and Prince Ding, wondering about her capabilities, while second aunt sighed, saying, Your third aunt is a formidable woman. She seemed to realize this wasn't a topic to discuss with her daughter and abruptly stopped. Anyway, don't worry about Shen Miao. I have a plan. A glint of ruthlessness flashed in her eyes. Meanwhile, at Autumn Water Garden, Shen Yue also overheard her mother's conversation with Guimomo. After holding back for a while, she finally asked, Mother, why did you say that to Guimomo? Won't that make Shen Miao even more determined to marry Prince Ding? Third aunt smiled. What do you think of Shen Miao? Shen Yue considered her a fool, ignorant of literature and math, unskilled in the four arts, timid and clumsy. If not for her father's illustrious reputation, no one would pay her any attention. Third aunt saw through her self-proclaimed clever sister-in-law. She shook her head. But after falling into the water, I've noticed she's changed. Maybe the incident with the prince shocked her. Since you also admire Prince Ding, why are you so focused on Shen Miao? I've told you, a smart woman doesn't fight other women. She fights for the man. Listen to me. Get close to Shen Miao. Keep being her friend, while shining in talent and beauty to make her look foolish. Even if the whole world wants Prince Ding to marry Shen Miao, if you win his heart, you'll win. But no matter what East Courtyard did, Shen Miao deliberately kept her distance from Shen Yue and Shenqing. As for the troublesome servants the second and third branches had planted in her courtyard, Shen Miao was already scheming to remove them one by one. Today at Guangwen Academy, she saw a boy, about 8 or 9, squatting by a pillar, sobbing. Shen Miao paused, then approached and gently asked, What's wrong? Why are you crying? The boy was so startled he tumbled off the step with a thud. But he didn't cry out, instead scrambling to his feet and staring at her. The chubby, adorable boy had big, round eyes that blinked rapidly. Shen Miao couldn't help but laugh. Still, he called out in a soft, clear voice, Big sister. His voice melted her heart. She knelt down, gently patting his head. Why were you crying? Seeing him reminded her of her son and daughter from her past life, softening her gaze. The boy held out his red, swollen hand and said pitifully, The teacher asked me a question I couldn't answer, so he hit my hand. It hurts so much. Shen Miao decided to tease him a bit. What did the teacher ask? The boy wailed louder. He told me to write the phrase, The rabbit dies, the fox grieves, but I couldn't remember it. When my father finds out, he'll definitely punish me. I'd rather bash my head against a wall and die. His dramatic, exaggerated tone was both amusing and endearing. She wondered whose precious child this was. Which family are you from? She asked. The boy puffed out his chest and introduced himself. I'm Su Minglang, second young master of the Earl of Pingyan's household, son of Su Yu, and younger brother of Su Mingfeng, the heir. Shen Miao froze. Her expression turned cold, a sharp glint flashing in her eyes. The Su family was a prominent clan handling horses and provisions for the army, fiercely loyal to the emperor. Though unrelated to the Shens, Su Yu, the Earl of Pingyan, and Si Ding, Marquis Ding, were close friends. Their sons, Su Mingfeng and Xia Jings, grew up together and were so close that after Su Mingfeng's death, only Xia Jings dared to bring his body back. An imperial edict would soon be issued, and in broad daylight, the imperial guards would raid their household and execute them on the spot. The Su family's blood would flow from the east of the capital to the west. Not a single old ally dared to step forward. Only Xi Jingxing came to collect the bodies of the family's masters. Serving the emperor was like living with a tiger. Loyalty didn't guarantee imperial favor. The Su family's destruction was only 2 months away. Looking at the innocent boy before her, Shen Miao asked, "Is Su Mingfeng the heir who recently earned great merit for managing the military horses so well?" The boy looked up proudly. "Yes, father says the emperor will surely grant him a title." Shen Miao stood, smiling, and asked if the boy's father would punish him for failing to answer a question, suggesting she had an idea to help him avoid it. The boy eagerly asked, "What's the idea, big sister?" Shen Miao put a finger to her lips. "You have to promise not to tell anyone I told you. Only then will I share it." That afternoon in the study, Su Yu, the Earl of Pingnan, was discussing military matters with his eldest son, Su Mingfeng. "I believe this time His Majesty will grant you a title. With the Xiongnu stirring, the cavalry's strength is more crucial than ever. Mingfeng, if you gain the emperor's favor, the Su family's future will be boundless." In Su Yu's mind, as long as he stayed loyal, the imperial family wouldn't mistreat him. But he forgot the old saying, "Serving the emperor is like living with a tiger." Su Mingfeng nodded in agreement, determined to follow his father's path in serving the country. Both father and son were in high spirits when Su Minglang, round-faced and adorably naive, returned from the academy. "Father, big brother." "Minglang, how was the academy today?" Su Minglang shuffled into the study. "Awful." The boy pitifully showed them his hands. Su Mingfeng saw the red marks on his brother's palms and frowned with concern. "Why did the teacher hit you so hard?" "Minglang's still young." Su Yu exploded. "Because you always spoil him, he's turned out like this." Su Yu asked what Su Minglang did wrong, and the boy weakly replied he couldn't write the phrase, "The rabbit dies, the fox grieves." Su Yu was heartbroken, lamenting that his son couldn't even write a few words when his older brother, at the same age, was studying cavalry logistics. For the first time, little Su Minglang stood up for himself. "I may not know the rabbit dies, the fox grieves, but I know the clever rabbit dies, the hunting dog is cooked. That's 2 words more." Su Yu was so angry he didn't know how to respond. Su Mingfeng smiled and knelt to comfort his brother. "Little brother, the meanings are different. The rabbit dies, the fox grieves means the fox is sad because it shares the same fate. But the clever rabbit dies, the hunting dog is cooked, means when the rabbit is gone, the dog that hunted it is useless and gets cooked. It's like burning the bridge after crossing." Little Su Minglang was still confused. "But either way, the rabbit's dead and the fox and dog are both in trouble, right? If everyone's in trouble, what's the difference?" Su Mingfeng was about to explain when he saw his father freeze. The earl muttered, "The rabbit dies. The clever rabbit dies. The hunting dog is cooked. Who's the hunting dog? And what about the dog that helped its master catch the rabbit?" In that moment, the Su family's vision of a glorious future shattered. 2 months later, the entire capital learned that Su Mingfeng, heir to the Earl of Pingnan, had suddenly fallen gravely ill and needed to recover at home. The earl, heartbroken, stayed home with his wife to care for their son, handing control of the military stables to an official appointed by the emperor. When Xi Jingxing heard the news, he immediately suspected the Su family was dodging a disaster and rushed to their residence to visit the sick. In front of his friend, Su Mingfeng's grave illness vanished, and he looked perfectly healthy. He sighed. "You guessed right. The Su family has managed military horses for generations. We shouldn't seek further advancement. We both got caught up in recent success, but climbing higher from here leads to disaster. We stepped back from the edge just in time. What about you? The Su and Z families rise and fall together. We've chosen to retreat. What about your Z family?" Xi Jingxing nodded slightly. "You did the right thing. If I stay out of court politics, what can he do to me? The Z family is just Marquis Ding now. He has to consider public opinion." "But how did you suddenly realize this? I tried warning you several times before, but you never listened." Su Mingfeng looked embarrassed. "I was too arrogant before. It was something my little brother said that made me think." After hearing the story, Xi Jingxing, usually laid back and carefree, suddenly sat up straight. "Your little brother said that? That little rice ball?" A cloud of suspicion formed in his mind. It was hard to believe those words came from a child. Su Mingfeng didn't think much of it. "Yeah. If not for him, our family might have walked straight into ruin." Just then, a childish voice piped up. "Big brother, Mom said to bring you some pastries." Seeing Xi Jingxing, little Su Minglang quickened his steps. He didn't know why, but he was always a bit scared of his brother's handsome friend. He set the pastries on the table, mumbling, "I'm going, big brother," and turned to run, but was yanked back by his collar. He looked up and saw his brother's friend grinning slyly, his beautiful eyes cold and sharp. "Who taught you to say the clever rabbit dies, the hunting dog is cooked?" Su Minglang squirmed but couldn't escape. With a guilty conscience, he confessed. Time passed quickly, and Guangwen Academy students began preparing for the Academy banquet at the end of the month. It was a major event for noble children, a chance for boys to start their official careers, and for girls to showcase their talents and virtues. But the reborn Shen Miao had no interest in it. Feng Anning couldn't help asking, "Why aren't you studying? The banquet's coming up. If you come in last again, everyone will laugh at you." Shen Miao looked calm. "I don't understand it anyway, so why waste my time?" Yi Peilan, overhearing, laughed loudly. "You can't turn a sow's ear into a silk purse." Feng Anning shot back. "Have you said enough? Have you finished your own work?" Shen Yue and Shen Qing pretended not to hear, neither helping nor adding to the conflict. Lately, Shen Miao had stopped fawning over them as before, which annoyed them, and they secretly hoped to see her humiliated. Shen Miao was far thicker-skinned now than in her past life. She didn't care about their verbal jabs. "I'm going for a walk in the garden," she said, standing up. After she left, Yi Peilan snorted. "She's probably running away because she has nothing to say." "Coward." Feng Anning frowned. "Haven't you said enough? Is your own work done?" Yi Peilan didn't want to make an enemy of her, so she fell silent. Shen Miao found a bamboo grove in the garden and instantly felt at ease. Being alone was best. After getting used to coldness and silence, dealing with the noise of childish taunts or praises felt exhausting. As she walked, she spotted a familiar little rice ball of a boy ahead. She approached and softly said, "Su Minglang." The boy turned, saw her, and his eyes lit up with surprise before quickly turning to guilt. Seeing she didn't say more, he hesitated for a long time before whispering, "I'm sorry." Shen Miao was puzzled. Why was he apologizing to her? As he looked ready to cry, she was about to comfort him when a lazy voice drawled, "So it's you." Xia Jings stepped out from the bamboo grove, a mischievous smile playing on his lips as he looked at her. Shen Miao looked up. The young man who made countless girls' hearts flutter emerged from the grove, his roguish grin ever present. The moment Su Minglang saw his brother's friend, he reacted like a mouse spotting a cat. "I'm sorry," he squeaked, then turned and bolted. Xia Jingxing approached Shen Miao, looking down at her. His eyes were sharp, as if they could pierce through someone's soul. A man like this, no matter how carefree he appeared, likely had a heart cold as ice. Shen Miao lowered her gaze, but Xia Jingxing smirked, lifting her chin with the hilt of his dagger, forcing her to meet his eyes. She realized he was hard to deal with, and any lie could be easily exposed, but she had to try. She took a deep breath, stepping back to free her chin from the dagger, and said, "Young Marquise." Xia Jingxing's eyes flashed. "You know me?" Shen Miao calmly replied that everyone in the capital knew Xia Jingxing. He questioned if she'd sent a message through Su Minglang, but she feigned innocence, saying she only taught the boy how to avoid his father's scolding, a simple diversion. Xia Jingxing savored the phrase overthinking and stepped closer, backing Shen Miao against a tree, saying that if he wasn't overthinking, he'd have been fooled. Shen Miao, growing impatient, asked his purpose, surprising him as the first girl to face him without blushing or stammering, but with calm composure. Her words were steady, her eyes free of fear or avoidance, highly suspicious. He placed a hand on the tree behind her, as if caging her in. He leaned in closer on purpose. "You're not afraid of me?" Shen Miao didn't flinch. "Young Marquis isn't a monster. Why should I be scared? If there's nothing else, I'll head back to the academy." She turned to leave. Xia Jingxing watched her walk away, then called out with a meaningful tone, "Hold on! You warned the Su family. What's your goal?" Shen Miao sighed inwardly. Xia Jingxing was sharper than she'd expected. If she didn't give him something, he wouldn't let it go. She turned back. Just self-preservation. With that, she walked away without another word. Xia Jingxing watched her go, reverting to his usual carefree demeanor, toying with his dagger. This girl had definitely caught his attention. Back at the Marcus Ding's residence, Xia Jingxing strode into his study. A servant entered. "Master, Concubine Fang made clear lotus seed porridge for you. She said it simmered for hours and hopes it warms your heart." Without looking up, Xia Jingxing said, "Dump it." "Yes, master," the servant replied, used to this, and left. Nearby, two maids whispered, "Why doesn't the master ever touch Concubine Fang's things? You're new, so you wouldn't know." The master's mother, the Marchioness, was Princess Yu Qing, the late emperor's most beloved daughter. The Marquis had once doted on her deeply. But he still took a concubine, now Concubine Fang. He had no choice, as her father had once saved his life. The princess was unhappy, but, being kind-hearted, never resorted to scheming. The princess's close maid had tried on her own to drive Concubine Fang away, but failed and was caught by the Marquis. He sternly reprimanded the princess. After that, the two grew distant. The princess's heart broke, and her health declined. Just as the Marquis planned to visit her, he was ordered to the battlefield and couldn't see her one last time. Perhaps out of guilt, the Marquis poured all his efforts into raising the young master, but the young master didn't appreciate it. From the moment he was old enough to understand, he distanced himself from the Marquis and despised concubine Fang no less. In the study, Xia Jings received a report from a spy. "Master, we've confirmed her identity. She's the 5th young miss of the general's residence, the legitimate daughter of Shen Xin, Shen Miao." Xia Jingxing frowned. Shen Xin was far away at the border, and the Shen and Ji families were rivals. A Shen girl suddenly helping out was highly suspicious. Keep investigating. The annual chrysanthemum banquet is approaching. Early one morning, old madam sent her close maid to West Courtyard to announce that a tailor had been called to make outfits for the banquet, and Shen Miao should come choose fabric. Shen Miao knew that this year, the Guangwen Academy banquet coincided with it, so the two events were combined into one grand banquet for noble families. Soon after, she arrived at old madam's Rongjing Hall. The 2nd and 3rd branches were already there, picking out fabrics. As soon as Shen Miao arrived, second aunt told her to choose fabric for the tailor to measure, knowing her taste was poor. Shenqing smiled and said she and second sister had already chosen. She held up a piece of fabric. "Shen Miao, your skin is so fair. How about this bright yellow?" Shen Yue chimed in. "Yes, among what's left, yellow seems to suit you best." A memory from her past life flashed through Shen Miao's mind. At that chrysanthemum banquet, she'd followed their advice and worn a garish yellow dress, looking cheap and piling on gaudy gold jewelry. She looked like the daughter of a nouveau riche landlord. Compared to the elegant Shenqing and Shen Yue, she was a walking joke, mocked and shunned by everyone. Shen Miao saw Fu Shui approach a wilted chrysanthemum, gently touching a petal and lamenting its fragile, helpless state. Fu Shui's words stirred Shen Miao's emotions, sparking her love for him, but he never truly pitied her, seeing everything she did as merely a wife's duty. Their years of polite respect were just an act, with him forcing himself to endure his disgust for her. Back in the present, Shen Miao cut off their suggestions, firmly choosing a roll of lotus blue brocade silk, rejecting their recommended choice. Second aunt, hoping Shen Miao would make a fool of herself, tried to persuade her. "Young girls should wear bright, vibrant colors. This is too plain, it'll make you look older." Shen Yue and Shenqing watched the scene with amusement. "I think lotus blue is lovely. Shen Miao's never worn this color. Trying something new is nice. If I hadn't picked my fabric, I'd want to try it too." Seeing Shen Miao's resolve, second aunt gave up and brought out a jewelry box, saying that Shen family daughters couldn't be looked down upon in public, so she'd prepared some jewelry for each of them for the banquet. "I know you're busy preparing for the academy banquet, so I took the liberty of having jewelry made for you, the most exquisite designs." Shen Miao thanked her coolly and told her maid to take the box. Old Madame Shen didn't want to spend a single coin on Shen Miao. Seeing the jewelry box, she scowled and impatiently dismissed everyone. On the way back, Shen Miao told her maid Shuangjiang to take the jewelry to a pawn shop. It was all heavy gold hairpins and necklaces. Wearing them would make her look like a walking treasury, just like in her past life. She also told Shuangjiang to buy a simple silver hairpin, preferably with a floral engraving. Shuangjiang was delighted. The young miss is finally ditching her tacky gold obsession and thinking for herself. Shen Miao now saw through everything. The jewelry she'd never wear could be traded for silver, which was always useful. The family's finances were controlled by second aunt, so she never spent as freely as her cousins. Most of that money was earned through her parents' blood and sweat, yet her relatives treated her poorly. The entire Shen household lived off her parents' income, but showed no gratitude. She had to find a way to split the family. The day of the chrysanthemum banquet arrived. Shen Miao wore her new dress. Her maid was brushing her hair. "This outfit suits the young miss perfectly." "It's just that your hair looks a bit plain." Guyu, afraid of upsetting her, quickly changed the subject. "It may be simple, but the tailor did an amazing job. You look beautiful, young miss." Shen Miao thought the dress fit perfectly. "Let's go." At the main gate, the 2nd and 3rd branches were already in their carriages. Second aunt was shocked to see Shen Miao in a simple color yet still standing out, without gaudy jewelry. "Shen Miao," she asked sharply, "why are you dressed so plainly?" Shenqing and Shen Yue, eyes glinting with jealousy, chimed in, saying Shen Miao should change her dress and wear jewelry, emphasizing it was about the family's reputation. "No need," Shen Miao interrupted, her face showing a hint of sadness. "I have a reason for dressing like this. I love the jewelry second aunt gave me, and I didn't avoid wearing it on purpose. But my father is fighting on the northwest front. The Xiongnu haven't been defeated yet. While our soldiers wear cold iron armor, here I am in the capital, dressed in silk. I feel ashamed." Last night, a bodhisattva came to me in a dream and told me to pray with a sincere heart. So until my father returns victorious, I won't wear bright colors or jewelry. Second aunt was flustered. Her words made the others dressed extravagantly look how. Third aunt gritted her teeth but feigned concern, telling Shen Miao she was young and shouldn't carry such heavy thoughts, and the chrysanthemum banquet was a time to relax. Shen Miao was done with this charade. She suddenly bowed deeply. I asked second aunt and third aunt to allow me to fulfill this filial duty. Passers-by started staring, making the two aunts' faces burn as they had to relent. Third aunt agreed, stressing her support for Shen Miao's filial piety, and accepted her simple choice. But our carriage is full. You can take the one behind. You'll have more space. Shen Miao understood their intent but wasn't worried. She smiled. As second aunt wishes. After all, she was no longer the Shen Miao of her past life. Yanbei Hall was packed with the children of noble families. Yi Peilan asked Bai Wei if she felt confident about the banquet, but she shook her head, only hoping not to be chosen to perform and avoid becoming a laughingstock. Yi Peilan noted that the Li family's young master, whom Bai Wei liked, was very talented and would perform, urging her to try. Bai Wei blushed. Don't talk nonsense. Yi Peilan giggled, telling Bai Wei not to worry, as long as Shen Miao was there to be the joke. No one else needed to fret. Jiang Taijuan agreed, saying Shen Miao was always the main spectacle every year, and wondering what ridiculous outfit she'd wear this time. As the two laughed, a sharp voice cut in. Enough! Stop bad-mouthing people behind their backs. Yi Peilan turned and sneered. Feng Anning, you've been acting weird lately. Why are you friends with that fool? Feng Anning's face flushed with anger. Before she could retort, someone announced, the young ladies of the Shen family have arrived. Second aunt wore a splendid robe, her plump figure and elegant hairstyle exuding the dignity of a matron. Third aunt, as usual, looked youthful in a graceful green dress, embodying a scholarly family's refinement. Behind them were Shen Yue and Shen Qing. Shen Yue wore a pale pink dress, her hair intricately styled, adorned with pink pearls. She was breathtakingly beautiful. Beside her, Shen Qing wore a soft orange dress, radiant and full of vitality. The eyes of many young men were drawn. The Shen family's young ladies are stunning. Their reputation is well-deserved. Hylian, once embarrassed by Shen Miao, smirked. There's one more. The general's daughter. Who's that? A guest of the Shen family? I've never seen her before. A young man recognized her. Isn't that General Shen's daughter? She's stunning, with such a striking presence. Truly a tiger's daughter from a tiger's father. Hylian's face fell. He couldn't believe this was Shen Miao. A wave of whispers spread through the hall. She's so young yet so composed. She'll be someone important someday. I never noticed before, but Shen Miao is a real beauty. In an instant, she had outshone the famously admired Shen Yue and Shen Qing. The second and third branches were furious and began plotting to humiliate her later. However, Shen Miao's gaze fixed on Pei Lang among the male guests. Today wasn't just about changing her image, but also about completely severing Pei Lang's connection to Fu Xiuyi. She looked for a seat. She wasn't afraid of being isolated, in fact, she preferred the quiet. The nobles observed from afar. Shen Miao sat calmly, her cool demeanor setting her apart, creating a clear boundary between her and everyone else. It was as if she stood above them all. A matron smiled at second aunt. Your Shen Miao seems to have changed a lot. She's grown into a fine young lady. Second aunt glanced at the men's section and smiled back. Yes. She's now of marriageable age. Old Madam dotes on her and asked me to keep an eye out for a suitable match. Third aunt, sitting nearby, smirked inwardly. Ren Wanyun, second aunt, was clearly anxious to marry Shen Miao off before Shen Xin returned. The second branch also had their sights on Prince Ding, so they needed to eliminate Shen Miao, their daughter's biggest rival. Just then, another commotion arose. Prince Yu has arrived! All eyes turned to the entrance. Prince Yu was the current emperor's brother. He had saved the emperor's life from an assassin in his youth, but lost his left leg in the process, and his personality had darkened dramatically. He was notorious for his violence and cruelty, the center of countless dark rumors. His first wife died just a few years after their marriage. And recently, it was said Prince Yu was looking for a new consort. In her past life, old Madam tried to marry her to the 42-year-old widowed cripple, but she was so infatuated with Fu Xiuyi that she packed her things that night and ran to Prince Ding's residence, begging him to take her in. She thought being his concubine was better than marrying Prince Yu. She didn't know she was choosing between two different circles of hell. Second aunt sighed dramatically to the matron, saying the emperor truly favored Prince Yu. The woman, seasoned in family politics and a Shen family ally, caught the hint and remarked that despite his age, a man like him knew how to cherish a woman. Third aunt sipped her tea, smirking, and commented that anyone cherished by Prince Yu who survived was lucky, as marrying into that family was like falling into a pit of fire. She wondered if Shen Miao, changed after falling into the water, would really follow their plan. Shen Miao ignored their veiled remarks. Many of her past life's mistakes began on this very day. Today would be the turning point of her new life. Those who owed her would start paying the price. Feng Anning appeared in front of her, interrupting her thoughts. Shen Miao, what's fun about sitting alone? Come play a game. Wait, what game is this? I've never seen it before. Shen Miao smiled. This wasn't a game, it was a battle. At this moment, there were no cracks to exploit. Only by striking could you find them. Feng Anning shivered. What are you talking about? So cryptic. Shen Miao didn't explain. Her gaze shifted to Fu Shuyi in the men's section. He was still perfectly polished, outwardly kind and just, but his soul was cruel and heartless. Shen Miao clenched her fists. Fu Shuyi, in my past life, you let me keep my body intact. In this life, I'll make you crumble to dust. Fu Shuyi, I'm back. Noticing Shen Miao quietly staring at Fu Shuyi, but with no trace of affection in her eyes, Feng Anning found it odd. Oh, I know what you're looking at. Your secret crush. Shen Miao turned, her sharp gaze chilling Feng Anning to the bone. Realizing she'd misspoken, she quickly corrected herself. Actually, I don't like him much either. How can someone be that perfect? It's not real at all. Just then, a drumbeat echoed through the hall, and the musicians began playing a powerful melody. It was the Song of Leisure, a piece symbolizing the imperial family's search for talent. The banquet was an opportunity to select the future pillars of the empire. The stirring melody was designed to ignite fervent patriotism in the young nobles. But in the end, few of them met a good fate. Kill the rabbit, cook the dog. Every new emperor purged the old vassals. This grand national anthem would one day become a funeral dirge. The music was crafted to mesmerize, turning loyalty into blind devotion. Shen Miao accidentally dropped her teacup. It shattered on the floor with a sharp crack, disrupting the rhythmic melody. The musicians stopped, and the crowd, as if waking from a dream, turned to see who caused the noise. Feng Anning snapped out of her daze, looking worried. Shen Miao, you really know how to stir up trouble. Shen Miao didn't flinch, picking up a shard and smiling. Sorry, my hand slipped. The imperial family tried to use music to brainwash the young nobles, but her accident had broken the spell. The musicians resumed playing, but now it was just ordinary music. The fervent patriotism that had swept the hall was gone. She had saved them all without their knowing, earning only annoyed glares. They criticized Shen Miao for being clumsy, ruining a beautiful piece, making the music less vibrant like a few instruments out of tune. Shen Miao's action caught the attention of Fu Shuyi, ever cautious and suspicious. The crash, though accidental, threw off the musicians and broke the hypnotic spell, making him look for who was responsible. Nearby, Prince Zhou, Fu Xuan, followed his gaze. Which lady caught your eye, ninth brother? You're the only one of us still unmarried. She's quite pretty. Does anyone know who she is? Pei Lang, standing nearby, answered, That's the fifth young miss of the general's residence, one of my students. Perhaps due to Shen Miao's prominent reputation, even Prince Jing, Fu Xuan, recognized her and wondered, Is that the legitimate daughter of General Shen? Her name's Shen Miao, right? He couldn't believe his eyes. No way! Not long ago, she made a fool of herself falling into a lake over ninth brother. Plus, she's completely clueless. How could that elegant, refined girl be her? Fu Shui kept his fake smile. Watch your words. I didn't mean it like that. But his eyes stayed glued to Shen Miao. He was just as shocked. In his memory, Shen Miao was a tacky girl who loved garish red and green dresses, obsessed with gold jewelry. Yet the girl before him now wore simple, elegant attire, her skin porcelain pale, her expression gentle as a breeze. How could this be Shen Miao? While everyone was lost in their own thoughts, the music ended and the banquet began. The Mingqi banquet had 3 parts: drawing lots, selection, and challenge. In drawing lots, officials decided the skill each person had to perform. In selection, participants chose their best skill to showcase on stage. For example, Shen Yue always chose the zither. Shen Ting, meanwhile, chose calligraphy. The final part was the challenge. Anyone could challenge another student to compete in any skill, regardless of gender. Feng Anning drew the zither, which she'd practiced diligently, and she sighed in relief, knowing she wouldn't come in last. Shen Miao, what did you draw? Before Shen Miao could open her paper slip, Shen Yue, appearing out of nowhere, snatched it. Oh, it's painting. We drew the same, Shen Miao. Don't worry, we'll go easy on you. Yi Peilan, standing nearby, smirked. Shen Yue, why bother? Let her prepare on her own. Shen Qing joined in to taunt. What are you going to paint, Shen Miao? Want second sister to give you some pointers? Facing their mockery and fake kindness, Shen Miao gave a half smile and replied, if second sister helps me, wouldn't that be cheating? Cheaters get kicked out of the banquet. Are you willing to go that far for me? Her cold words made Shen Yue's expression shift. Knowing the consequences, Shen Yue forced a smile and put the paper down, not daring to overstep. Feng Anning loudly mocked her, making those around look at her differently. She's quite the performer. Aren't they all from the Shen family? Why the discord? Is something going on in their household? Shen Yue, still young, didn't know how to handle the situation. She looked at Shen Miao desperately, hoping for rescue. But Shen Miao acted as if she didn't notice. Second sister, shouldn't you focus on your own painting? Don't worry about me. Feeling the mocking gazes around her, Shen Yue suppressed her anger and hissed, in that case, I'm really looking forward to your stellar performance. Then she stormed off, fuming. Soon the banquet officially began. The first category was the zither. Luckily, all the other girls who drew zither were mediocre, and Feng Anning easily took first place. The second category was chess, and Yi Peilin won. The third category was calligraphy, where Shen Qing's group competed. The competition was fierce, and no one knew the winner until the final moment. Finally, it was Shen Miao's group's turn, painting. 5 people were assigned the theme of chrysanthemums. In the men's section, Su Minglang tugged at his brother's sleeve, excited. Big brother, look! That pretty sister is here too. I bet she'll win. Su Mingfeng was puzzled, not understanding why his little brother was so taken with Shen Miao, known for being foolish. Shen Yue, still bitter from Shen Miao's earlier humiliation, pretended to be kind to her. Seeing Shen Miao's confidence, she felt almost afraid. Fan Liu, standing nearby, sneered and asked, Shen Yue, what are you saying? Confident? Does she have some trick up her sleeve? Another girl, Zhao Yan, gleefully recalled, last year Shen Miao drew zither and snapped a string, so this year they hoped she wouldn't break her brush while painting. Qin Qing snapped irritably, what are you all chattering about? If you want to fight, do it on stage so everyone can see your true colors. Zhao Yan and the others fell silent, though clearly unhappy. Before taking the stage, Shen Yue couldn't resist one last jab. Shen Miao, don't hold back. I'll be waiting. Shen Miao replied coldly, I won't. On stage, all eyes were on Shen Miao. People wondered if she had truly changed. She looked so composed today. She actually seemed like she knew what she was doing. No way. It's just an act. See? She didn't even think before starting to paint. The way she sat, back straight, every movement, it reminded him of someone, the current empress ruling the 6 palaces. Shen Miao painted with a steady hand until she finished. Shen Yue was stunned. Shen Miao hadn't made a single mistake. This new Shen Miao made her uneasy. Shen Miao didn't give her a chance to probe. She left the stage and found a quiet corner. Guyu, she ordered her maid, find a way to deliver this to the second young master of the Prime Minister Dian Junxi's household. Guyu, now trusting her mistress's judgment, took the paper without question and left. Shen Miao returned to her seat, her gaze seeking Pei Lang in the distance. Sorry, Pei Lang, she thought. I'll have to use you to shake the solid foundation of the Mingqi imperial family. After all, you owe me. Pei Lang seemed to sense her stare and looked up, meeting her appraising gaze again. He was utterly confused. How could someone change so completely? Was this really Shen Miao? Feng Anning, seeing her return, complained, where were you? They announced the results. I got first in zither and Shen Qing got second in calligraphy. They're about to announce your painting group's results now. Shen Yue was confident in her painting. She'd studied the judges' preferences and was certain first place was hers. As soon as the results were announced, she'd go mock Shen Miao. But when the judge declared Shen Miao the winner of the painting category, her smile froze on her face. She turned to her mother in disbelief, her voice trembling. Who did he say won? The women's section buzzed with whispers. Shen Miao took first place? The men's section was equally shocked. Hai Lin, who admired Shen Yue, grabbed a classmate asking, Shen Miao? You're kidding. Did I hear wrong, or did that old man read it wrong? Su Minglang gleefully tugged his brother's sleeve. See, big brother, I knew she'd win. As the chatter continued, the judges displayed the paintings for everyone to see. Fan Liu and Zhao Yan's paintings lacked originality. Qin Qing's was more creative, but lacked depth. I don't get why this only got second place. Then, 2 servants unfurled Shen Miao's scroll, and the hall fell silent. On it was a vast golden desert under a sunset, the sky blood red. A broken sword was stabbed into the ground, and at its base lay a single white chrysanthemum. The head judge called Shen Miao to the stage to explain her painting. Shen Qing looked at her with contempt. Now she's exposed, she thought. Her technique's nothing special and the idea was definitely someone else's. Yi Peilan laughed. I knew it. No one becomes a genius overnight, she's just trying to get attention. On stage, Shen Miao touched the scroll. I painted this because my father once told me that every year on the battlefield, many heroes fall and are buried in the sand. Being so far away, they're laid to rest there, where no chrysanthemums grow. Chrysanthemums only bloom in the warmth of the capital, where we enjoy peace and prosperity. A peace paid for with the lives of soldiers at the frontier. Those who sacrifice don't even get a single white chrysanthemum, not even a proper memorial. Their wives and children can only wear white chrysanthemums back home and grieve from afar. The reason we can sit here admiring flowers is because of the brave soldiers protecting us. We can't do much for them, but we can express gratitude through a painting to comfort their heroic souls. Her words silenced the hall. Through paper and ink, they almost felt the desolation, tragedy, and helpless struggle. Soldiers were always revered, and her words touched their hearts. However, the princes frowned. Her speech seemed like a tribute to soldiers, but it also glorified military achievements. If the imperial family had ever mistreated the Shen family, it would be seen as a moral failure in the eyes of the nobles. Prince Yu's gaze fixed on Shen Miao. He gave a long, meaningful smile. This Shen family girl is truly fascinating. Prince Jing chimed in. She's sharp-witted. If our royal uncle finds her appealing, it's understandable. Prince Yu, over 40 and notoriously cruel, had toyed with and discarded countless women. If Shen Miao fell into his hands, she wouldn't last long. She and Feng Anning had left their seats to take a break. Shen Miao, what you said up there was amazing. Shen Miao calmly replied, You did well too. Feng Anning beamed. Hard work pays off. I'm just going to grab something from the carriage. Wait here for me. Guyu returned at that moment, her task complete. She glanced around nervously and whispered, Young miss, the item was delivered to the Prime Minister Dian Junqi's second son. I bribed a servant to make the switch so it was done safely. Shen Miao nodded. Well done. Just then a soft laugh came from above. Both looked up and saw a young man in purple robes, impossibly handsome, leaning against a tree branch, arms crossed, a half-smile on his lips. Xia Jings. What was he doing here? Did he overhear anything? Xia Jingsing's sudden appearance after her exchange with Guyu put Shen Miao on high alert. She turned and ordered Guyu to go to the edge of the grove, keeping watch with Jingjae to ensure no one disturbed them. Guyu hesitated, uneasy about leaving her mistress alone with a stranger. But Shen Miao knew Xia Jingxing wasn't here for idle chatter. He was young but sharp, hard to deceive. She spoke with sudden authority. Go. Guyu didn't dare argue and withdrew. Shen Miao looked up at Xia Jingxing. Does young Marquis have something to say? Xia Jingxing's eyes gleamed with mischief. Prince Yu's looking for a new consort. Seems that old cripple's got his eye on you. Shen Miao's expression didn't change. And, seeing her composure, Xia Jingxing's lips curved into a smile both charming and meaningful. So you already knew. Not worried about your own problems, but awfully concerned about the second young master of the Prime Minister Dian Junqi. He pulled a few sheets of paper from his robe. Shen Miao's face darkened. She lunged to grab them, but he held them out of reach, clearly enjoying her frustration. Her voice sharpened. Young Marquis, isn't this a bit much? Xia Jingxing waved the papers, his smile teasing. You're awfully protective of a piece of paper. What's your connection to the second young master of the Dian Junqi family? Helping him out of some special friendship? Or, Shen family girl, are you scheming something? Facing the cunning Xia Jingxing, Shen Miao's face was a stone mask. Her gaze locked on the papers in Xia Jingxing's hand, her heart sinking. It was the treatise on legal reform, a document she'd recreated from memory. In her past life, Pei Lang had used this treatise to win Fu Shuyi's favor and become his advisor. Now, before Pei Lang could showcase his talent, she would cut off that path forever, ensuring he never served the imperial family. That's why she had Guyu deliver it to Gao Yan, the second son of the Prime Minister Dian Junqi. The Dian Junqi family was one of the most prominent, newly elevated noble clans, and both sons were closely watched. Gao Yan was less talented than his older brother Gao Jin, but he was arrogant and petty. In her past life, he had lusted after her daughter, Wan Yu. If she could place a useless troublemaker like him in court to oppose Fu Shuyi, it would be an entertaining spectacle. Removing a key asset of Fu Shuyi's and replacing it with an incompetent saboteur was a brilliant plan. But Xia Jingxing's interference had thrown her strategy into chaos. It was infuriating. Shen Miao's expression flickered briefly, but she said nothing. Xia Jingxing finally smiled. You don't need to look at me with such hatred. These are just copies. The original is still with young Gao. I'm just curious why you'd help him like that. unless you've got a secret romance and want to help your lover rise to fame. But that Gao kid is pretty useless, though he's got decent taste in women. You're probably out of his league. Or maybe you're trying to help the Dianjunshi family, but helping the useless Gao Yan instead of Gao Jin seems malicious. Xia Jing's smile was sly, but his words hit the mark. Shen family girl, do you have a grudge against the Dianjunshi clan? Shen Miao looked at the young man before her. Someone so exceptional, yet fated to die young. Such a pity. A flicker of sympathy crossed her eyes, but her voice was even when she spoke. Xia Jing's gaze sharpened. You're playing a very roundabout game. All this just to push Gao Yan into an official position. Are you trying to throw the Mingqi court into chaos? Shen Miao sighed, looking straight at the young marquis. She said the Zi and Shen families had never interfered with each other. She wasn't targeting the Marquis Ding's household, and life was short. Though the Zi family might see the Shens as enemies now, one day they could face a common foe. Xia Jing had met countless people, but none surprised him like the girl before him. He raised an eyebrow. Are you proposing we work together? Yes, she replied calmly. He nodded. So the Shen family has a smart one after all. If that's the case, go ahead with your plan. I'll watch the show today. Don't disappoint me. He turned to leave. Wait, Shen Miao called. He paused without turning. What? Your two half-brothers are competing in the banquet today, she said bluntly. You're just going to let them be? She recalled that in her past life, Xia Jingxing skipped the banquet, letting his two half-brothers steal the spotlight. Both caught Fu Shui's attention and were brought into his fold. For the concubine and her two sons to profit after the tragic end of the Marquis, and his heir was suspicious. The Xi family surely had its own internal conflicts. Xia Jingxing turned back, his expression surprised. You're suggesting I go on stage and compete with them like you did with your cousins? Ignoring his mocking tone, she said, Aren't our situations similar, young Marquis? Though she knew he was of noble birth and disdained squabbling with a concubine's sons, she warned that small oversights could ruin a team, explaining that seemingly minor issues were like hidden vipers. Instead of letting them gain protection from powerful forces, it was better to challenge and humiliate them publicly, punishing them without pretending in private. He'd endured enough already. Xia Jingxing looked at the girl near him. A pleasant fragrance wafted from her, like her, seemingly pure but with a cold, distant heart. He knew she had her own motives for suggesting this, but he couldn't refuse. He smiled, and with a flick of his hand, the hairpin in Shen Miao's hair was in his palm. In the next moment, a fresh camellia flower, pink as jade, took its place. His smile was teasing, his tone familiar. You're fascinating. This jade camellia is a gift. Your suggestion's a good one. Thanks. When Shen Miao returned to her seat, Feng Anning complained, I told you to wait for me. I came back and you were gone. Where did you go? Shen Miao smiled faintly. The chrysanthemums were so beautiful I went for a stroll. Has it started? Feng Anning pouted, knowing she wasn't being honest but not pressing further. You were gone a while. The men's drawing lots is done, and now it's their selection round. Shen Miao's gaze fell on Gao Yan, beaming across the hall, and a cold smile flickered across her lips. Go ahead, take that treatise and go to Fu Shuyi. Hurry and snatch an official post before your brother. With your talent, I'm sure you'll drag the whole Gao family into the mud. Shen Miao, after the men's round, it's the women's selection turn. Are you joining? Feng Anning's voice interrupted her thoughts. She focused and replied, No, the selection is for showing off your best skill. I'm terrible at every kind of art. That earlier win was just luck. Feng Anning was speechless. Who talks about themselves like that? Another voice cut in. Shen Yue had appeared before them. Shen Miao, you're really not joining the next round? Shen Miao didn't look up from the chessboard she was arranging. Does second sister want me to join? Shen Yue froze but remembered her purpose. She raised her voice for others to hear. Of course I do. Your painting was so impressive. Why not choose painting again? Feng Anning scoffed, saying painting needs inspiration, and even second Miss Shen would struggle to produce 2 masterpieces in a row. Shen Yue smiled sweetly, insisting she only said it because she saw Shen Miao's improvement. If she painted one beautiful piece, what's stopping her from doing another? Shen Miao still didn't look up. She placed a chess piece in the board's center. I'm not interested. Thanks for your concern, second sister. Shen Yue hadn't expected Shen Miao to brush her off so publicly. Unable to press further, she returned to her seat. In the men's section, Kai Lin had been watching Shen Yue. When she glanced over and seemed to smile gently at him, his heart skipped a beat. He noticed she'd been talking to Shen Miao and assumed Shen Miao had upset her, deciding to teach Shen Miao a lesson for the girl he loved. On stage, Gao Yan adjusted his robe, and with encouragement from his attendants, he stood to perform. Gao Jin grabbed Gao Yan's arm, asking, "What are you doing? Going on stage?" Gao Yan puffed up with pride, but Gao Jin, knowing his brother's lesser talent, warned that the Gao family couldn't afford mistakes, which stung Gao Yan. He shook off his brother's hand. "Brother, I may not be as smart as you, but I'm not a complete idiot. You don't need to stop me. I'm not trying to steal your spotlight." Before Gao Jin could reply, Gao Yan strode onto the stage and declared, "I choose policy discourse." Then he pulled out the papers he'd been given and began reading. The audience was impressed. Gao Yan's treatise was remarkable. Had he been hiding his talent all this time, waiting for the banquet to shine? Prince Zhou and Prince Jing nodded in approval. Gao Jin's younger brother is impressive. Even court ministers would struggle to offer such insightful views. And he's so young. In time, he's sure to have a bright future. Yet Pei Lang was stunned from the moment Gao Yan began speaking. For some reason, the treatise felt strangely familiar, as if he knew what was coming, as if it were his own work. Fu Shui quietly observed the man on stage. Clearly, Gao Yan had caught his attention. Shen Miao smiled to herself and turned back to the chessboard. She picked up a piece and placed it at the board's edge. Feng Anning couldn't help but comment, "Are you just placing it randomly? Who puts a piece so far from the center?" Shen Miao only smiled. "What's wrong with being far?" she thought. "Every piece has a purpose. Though it seems a million miles from the center now, one day it'll be indispensable." In a pavilion overlooking the event, Su Mingfeng fanned himself. "I don't know where Gao Yan got that treatise, but it's brilliantly written. I'd love to meet the author." Xia Jings drawled, "And then what?" "He's definitely a scholar of great learning," Su Mingfeng said eagerly. "I'm sure I could learn a lot from him." Xia Jings smirked. "I wouldn't be so sure." He sipped his tea, toying with the hairpin in his hand. Xi Jingxing, the only one who knew it was Shen Miao's work, kept her secret, offering only a cryptic smile. On stage, Gao Yan finished his speech. The banquet officials, suspecting he might truly be a hidden talent, decided to test him further, as was tradition. An official asked about Ming Qi's complex legal system based on the treatise, and Gao Yan proposed dividing it into smaller branches. He answered the prepared question with eager confidence. Pei Lang watched Gao Yan respond fluently and was impressed, but he couldn't shake an odd feeling. Every word Gao Yan said seemed familiar, as if etched in his mind, making him increasingly uneasy. Little Su Minglang woke from a short nap and saw everyone looking at Gao Yan with admiration. "Father, is he really that good? Why hasn't Big Brother come back?" "His insights are profound," his father replied. "Your brother's not feeling well today. Coming here was already a big effort. Let him rest." Fu Shuyi overheard and glanced over, his expression pensive. In any case, Gao Yan's performance was a resounding success. He answered every question flawlessly, dispelling doubts about his ability. Gao Yan strutted off the stage. The women's selection round began. Shen Yue chose her strongest skill, the zither. She looked delicate and graceful in her pink dress, like a little fairy to those unaware of her true nature. She played Everlasting Joy, a piece about longing for home and family. To Shen Miao, it was a bitter irony. Even in this new life, her children, Wan Yu and Fuming, could never return. The music offered no comfort, only the sound of blood and vengeance. Kai Lin had managed to get a spot right below the stage to admire his beloved. He was lost in the enchanting music when he overheard a nearby conversation. "Miss Shen Yue is so unlucky. She's never gotten second place before, and now she's been outdone by someone like Shen Miao." Kai Lin realized the speaker was Shen Yue's personal maid and listened closer. "It's a pity our miss is too kind. She suffers so much from Miss Shen Miao in private. If only another young lady stood up for her, maybe in the challenge round." The maid seemed to scold her companion. "Don't talk nonsense. Everyone knows Miss Shen Miao is useless at the four arts. For a young lady to challenge her would be lowering herself. But if a young master challenged her, that would be a way to stand up for Miss Shen Yue." The conversation ended. Kai Lin looked at Shen Yue on stage and an idea formed in his mind. He would be her hero. Unaware he was being used, he felt thrilled. When Shen Yue finished her performance, she was surrounded by praise. Even Feng Anning, who didn't like her, had to admit her skill was impressive. Shen Yue smiled genuinely, securing first place. She was curious about the upcoming challenge round. Shen Qing, also pleased with her own win, noted that this year's lack of age or gender restrictions would make the competition fierce. She glanced at her maid, who nodded slightly. Her plan was in motion. Shen Yue smiled, eagerly awaiting Shen Miao's humiliation. As expected, Kai Lin was the first to stand from the men's section. He strode to the stage and loudly declared, "I want to issue a challenge. I choose archery, and I challenge Shen Miao." Feng Anning immediately realized what was happening. Has Kai Lin lost his mind? Shen Miao, engrossed in her chessboard, placed a piece down and looked up, her eyes clear as she faced him. I accept. Feng Aning was stunned. Shen Miao, have you lost your mind too? How could the clumsy, foolish girl I know calmly accept an archery challenge? Shen Yue feigned concern for Shen Miao, while third aunt subtly suggested she not push herself, saying that even though her father was a general, she wasn't skilled in such things. Shen Qing was delighted, but stressed that the rules were set. Once challenged, you had to compete. Second aunt chimed in. Shen Miao knows nothing about archery. If you don't want to, I'll talk to the officials. Out of respect for your father, they won't make it hard for you. Shen Miao caught the hidden insults in their words, implying she'd disgrace her father's reputation. She wouldn't allow that. Thank you, second aunt, but no need. I accept this challenge. Shen Miao stood and walked to the stage. Kai Lin smirked, proposing a fun rule. Each would balance a persimmon on their head and shoot at each other. The banquet officials were horrified, fearing that if something happened to Shen Miao, who could face General Shen Xin's wrath when he returned by year's end. But Kai Lin was determined to be a hero for his beloved. This has always been the rule. The challenger decides. What, is the great general's daughter a coward? Before Shen Miao could respond, the depraved Prince Yu laughed loudly. Kai Lin's right. We can't change the rules for one person. Does General Shen flee the battlefield just because the enemy's strong? If so, I guess we can understand. My father has fought and bled on the front lines so people can enjoy banquets and students can compete in peace. As for your rules, I'm not afraid my archery's poor. If I miss, the one who needs to worry about their life is you, not me. In that case, let's sign a death waiver. Injury or death, we each take responsibility. Do you dare, Kai Lin? The hall fell silent at Shen Miao's proposal to sign a death waiver with her challenger. Her composure beyond her years and the way she looked at him like he was a naughty child infuriated Kai Lin. Why wouldn't I dare? He blurted impulsively. Sign the death waiver! Kai Lin's father, confident his son would win, feigned helplessness and didn't intervene. Shen Yue, pretending to panic, fanned the flames. Shen Miao, why would you sign a death waiver? It's just a competition. Second aunt quickly added. Exactly. Shen Miao's being far too reckless and impulsive. Prince Zhou remarked, this Shen girl has courage but no strategy. If something goes wrong, even Shen Xin won't be able to defend her. Prince Jing agreed. Utterly reckless. No wonder everyone calls her a fool. Fu Xiuyi nodded. She's probably just trying to protect her family's honor. Little Su Minglang, seeing everyone criticize Shen Miao, clenched his fists. She'll definitely win, he declared to his father, who, surprised by his son's strange devotion, only nodded absently. In the pavilion above, Su Mingfeng also thought Shen Miao was being foolish. She's bold, signing a death waiver. Does she think this is a game at a military camp? She's completely clueless. Xia Jings, hearing his friend, smiled. Interesting. Want to bet? On who'll win. He knew Shen Miao wasn't a fool. If she dared sign a death waiver, she had the skills to back it up. Su Mingfeng looked at his friend oddly. What kind of bet? Obviously, Kai Lin will win. Xia Jingxing looked at him, eyes full of confidence. I'm betting on Shen Miao. On stage, preparations began. As they were about to sign the waiver, Kai Lin, despite his bravado, started to feel nervous. Not afraid I'll miss on my first shot? He asked. If I'm scared you'll hit me on your second shot, I just need to make sure I injure you on my first. Shen Miao replied coldly. Everyone knows you're an excellent archer, young Master Kai. If you miss, it could only be on purpose. Me, I know nothing about archery. If I miss, it's expected. To avoid being hit by me on your second shot, you could kill me with your first. But I'm still standing here. Do you dare kill me? Her words infuriated him. If a girl wasn't afraid, how could he, a man, back down? Talk all you want. We'll see who's the real archer out there. Don't get so scared you wet your pants later, he shouted back. He grabbed his bow and faced Shen Miao, who stood calmly 9 feet away. Not every girl could stand motionless before a man with a bow and arrow. Her words echoed in his ears. I'm standing here. Do you dare kill me? His hands began to shake. The calmer she was, the more afraid he became. His first arrow flew, but it wobbled in the air and fell short, not even grazing her skirt. The second arrow landed at her feet. The third brushed past her hair but never came close to the persimmon. After 3 shots, the hall erupted in laughter. Kai Lin, are you getting weak? You usually hit targets from 30 feet, and today you can't manage 9? Shen Miao removed the persimmon from her head, adjusted her hair, and smiled. Now my turn. Those 3 simple words carried a chilling weight. Prince Zhou and Prince Jing exchanged glances, realizing they'd both been wrong. With that courage and poise, she wasn't a fool. Someone had deliberately tarnished her reputation. Prince Jing smiled at Fu Shuyi. Regretting it now, ninth brother? A woman that remarkable, why did you reject her? Fu Shuyi replied, she's a beauty, but not the one my heart desires. Yet, deep down, he felt uneasy. He didn't regret his choice, but Shen Miao today was a thorn in his side. Had she been pretending to be a fool all along just to make him underestimate her? Prince Yu's lecherous gaze fixed on Shen Miao's figure. What a captivating creature. I wonder what she tastes like. In the pavilion, Xia Jings propped his chin, looking relaxed. You lost. Su Mingfeng was stunned but caught something in his friend's expression. Unbelievable. You knew this would happen, didn't you? Fine, a bet's a bet. What's my penalty? Xia Jing's smile was devilish. Your penalty is to dig up that ancient wine jar you've buried for years and celebrate with me when this is over. Su Mingfeng laughed loudly. You're ruthless. But what are we celebrating? Is there some happy occasion? Xia Jingxing stood to leave. You'll see soon enough. Something very worth celebrating. On stage, Kailin's hands trembled as he placed the persimmon on his head. Have you ever practiced archery? He asked. Shen Miao smiled at him. Never. This is my first time touching a bow. But with 3 arrows, I'm sure I'll figure it out. Kailin's father panicked. Miss Shen, my son was just being playful. I apologize on his behalf. Don't take it seriously. You've never shot a bow. If something happens, it won't benefit you either. Lord Kai, I just wagered my life moments ago. Now it's your son's turn. The death waiver is clear. You set the rules and now you want to back out? Is this how all Mingqi officials behave? Her sharp words turned a personal dispute into a matter of national honor. The official sweated coldly, speechless. Shen Miao knocked an arrow, drew the bow, and shot, all in one fluid, practiced motion, looking like a seasoned archer. I asked you earlier, I'm standing here? Do you dare kill me? Now it's my turn to answer that question. And my answer is, I dare. The next moment, the arrow was released, flying toward Kailin with deadly intent. It grazed his left cheek, leaving a thin red line of blood. Kailin was shocked that she actually shot at him. He didn't know if she missed on purpose. Shen Miao, you! He roared. Before he could finish, the second arrow whizzed by, perfectly grazing his right cheek. Now he had a matching pair of cuts. Second aunt was horrified that Shen Miao injured the Kai family's young master, while the woman beside her added that Shen Miao was unusual. No ordinary girl would dare do this, worrying about the consequences with court officials. Third aunt seized the chance. From the way she held the bow, she clearly knew what she was doing. She did it on purpose, for revenge. Now she's really made enemies. Shen Yu was secretly thrilled. It would be perfect if Shen Miao actually killed him. She'd become a murderer, her reputation ruined forever. No one would marry her. Poor Kai Lin, eager to defend his beloved, had no idea she wanted him dead. He'd been completely set up. The stinging pain on his cheeks made him not just angry but terrified. What was she planning? He realized Shen Miao was unhinged, capable of anything. Shen Miao didn't answer him. Instead, she declared, 1 arrow left. The hall held its breath. Kai Lin saw the arrow aimed at his head, and his legs began to shake. Now he was truly scared. He was about to beg for mercy when she released the bowstring. The arrow shot forward, aimed straight at his forehead. It pierced the persimmon, and Kai Lin, with a terrified scream, dropped to his knees. Then he collapsed to the ground, sobbing in fear. Shen Miao picked up the arrow and the skewered persimmon, held them up, and calmly smiled. You lost. Kai Lin couldn't speak. He scrambled to his feet and fled the stage in humiliation. A banquet official approached her, astonished. Miss Shen, have you practiced archery before? Shen Miao tilted her head, a memory from her past life flashing through her mind. It was her first year as a hostage in Qin. The princes and princesses there had used this very game to humiliate her. Back then, she practiced every night in her room until she could hit the target every time. But during the day, she deliberately missed. When she became the target, arrows struck her hair, clothes, and skin, and she could only grit her teeth to survive and see her children again. But in the end, she realized it was too late, vowing in this life to never be bullied again. She returned to the present and smiled. I've seen my brother practice in the courtyard. A burst of applause rang out. It was the depraved Prince Yu. Outstanding, he exclaimed, his mind already filled with vile thoughts about her. Shen Miao glanced at him but said nothing. The official announced, anyone else want to challenge her in archery? If not, Shen Miao is the absolute winner. But as he spoke, a young man's voice rang out. I want to challenge Shen Miao. Shen Miao turned and nearly laughed. It was Zi Changwu, one of Marquis Ding's illegitimate sons, Xia Jing's half-brother. Why was he targeting her? Then she saw his brother, Ji Changchao, comforting the distraught Lord Kai, and she understood. The two brothers were trying to secure a place under the Kai family. This was the perfect chance to curry favor. In her past life, these two had sided with Consort Mei and relentlessly bullied her children. As Shen Miao was about to accept, Xia Jings appeared, mocking his brothers for daring to challenge a young girl without first practicing with their elder brother, and challenged them to teach them a lesson about cowardice and disgracing the family. He glanced at Shen Miao, telling her to step down, but she stood still, staring, realizing she'd hoped he'd show up but not in this way, as if rescuing her. Xi Changwu's plan was ruined by his elder brother's arrival, a man who never attended banquets and was on another level. Big brother, I don't think that's a good idea. Xi Jingxing smiled. Why not? Or do you think Shen Miao's a worthier opponent than me? A warrior challenging a defenseless girl and scorning his own brother. I don't get it. But this girl's pretty too. If you're picking opponents based on looks, I guess it makes sense. The girls in the audience boiled with jealousy. Is young Marquis C blind? How could he call Shen Miao pretty? She must have bewitched him. Shen Miao's so shameless. First obsessed with Prince Ding, now targeting young Marquis C. Xia Changwu's hope of using Shen Miao to win over the Kai family vanished. He had no choice but to face his brother. Since Big Brother said so, how can I refuse? Xi Jingxing gave him no room to complain. One's not enough. Third brother, you join in too. The two illegitimate sons of the Z family, hoping to shine at the banquet and catch the imperial family's eye, chose to challenge their legitimate brother Xi Jingxing in a mounted spear duel. They were confident they could crush him. Below, Feng Anning whispered to Shen Miao. Xi Jingxing agreed to a spear fight with both of them, but Ji Changwu and Jie Changchao are double spear masters. They fight like one. 2 against 1, young Marquise is at a huge disadvantage. Others didn't know, but she did. The imperial records detailed the Z family's battle formations. Xi Jingxing could form a one-man army, the Spirit Snake formation. With 1 spear, 1 horse, and 1 man, he could annihilate enemies. The drums sounded and the duel began. The two brothers charged at Xia Jingxing from both sides, trying to pin him. But Xi Jingxing, radiating deadly intent, moved like a serpent, weaving and dodging their attacks with ease. No matter how tight their formation seemed, he slipped through without effort. He was a magnificent wolf, blending elegance and ferocity, exuding terrifying strength. The once perfect double spear technique of the brothers was now full of flaws, almost comical against him. Everyone instantly saw who the superior warrior was. Xi Jingxing's admirers cheered. My gosh, he's just toying with them. Even Yi Palin blushed. Compared to him, those two looked like mere props. Xi Changwu knew he was losing badly. His dreams shattered, a murderous intent rose within him. Xi Jingxing, today either you die or I die. In a desperate, shameful act, he roared and thrust his spear into the flank of Xia Jingxing's horse. Lord, they're playing dirty. Look at Xi Changchao. He's trying to trample Xi Jingxing as he falls. We knew they didn't get along, but are they trying to kill him? The black horse screamed in pain and reared, thrashing wildly. But Xi Jingxing, with a flick of his wrist, used his spear to knock the horse's front legs out, making it collapse. He leaped off the falling horse, dodging Xi Changwu's attack, and with a sweep of his spear, he knocked him off his horse. Then he spun and struck Xi Changchao's shoulder, causing him to tumble to the ground as well. In mere seconds, both brothers were unhorsed. Xi Jingxing stood tall like a true war god, pointing his spear at Xi Changwu's eyes. You dare attack your own brother from behind? You're truly too arrogant. The crowd went wild. Feng Anning marveled. Young Marquise is incredible. I don't think anyone in our generation can match him. Shen Miao watched the young man in purple, a faint smile on her lips. The banquet was supposed to be about fair competition. The brothers used dirty tricks and still lost. After today, their carefully built reputations would be in tatters. Xi Jingxing was a brilliant strategist. Ignoring the cheers, he turned to the men's section. The match is over. Anyone else want to issue a challenge? After witnessing his skill, no one was foolish enough to step up. The hall was silent. Since no one's stepping forward, I'll take my leave, he said, tossing his spear aside and leaving the stage. Prince Zhou watched him go. That guy's got impressive skills, but he's stubborn. Fu Shuyi said nothing, but he felt a twinge of regret. He really wanted to recruit someone as outstanding as Xi Jingxing, but sadly, the Marquis Ding's family wouldn't last much longer. Pei Lang, hearing Prince Zhou's comment, sighed inwardly. The Mingqi imperial family thought themselves clever, but they were short-sighted. Xi Jingxing was clearly hiding his true abilities. His performance on stage today was deliberate. If the imperial family crossed him, they'd surely suffer. Like Shen Miao, he was a sleeping lion. Xi Jingxing reappeared in the pavilion. Su Mingfeng expressed his confusion. You really stole the show today. What are you going to do about your two brothers now? This isn't like you. Xia Jings raised an eyebrow. I was advised that some matters are better settled sooner than later. Su Mingfeng, perceptive, didn't press further. That young lady you saved seems to be in trouble. Xia Jing's gaze drifted to the women's section, where second aunt was eagerly accepting an invitation from a servant. His Highness is too kind. I'm truly grateful. She told Shen Miao to thank Prince Yu, causing Shen Miao to catch the gleeful looks from Shen Yue and Shen Qing. A cold smile flickered across Shen Miao's lips, her eyes flashing with a dark resolve. Even so, she said in a sweet tone that she would thank Prince Yu properly. Xia Jings didn't miss the fire in her eyes and felt a thrill of anticipation. This'll be interesting. After returning to the residence, they went straight to old Madam to discuss matters. You made quite an impression at the banquet today. Even Prince Yu took notice. Since he sent an invitation, it means he's interested. The Shen family might soon have a princess consort. Old Madam, unaware of Prince Yu's depravity, thought this was good, though she was still displeased. With her temperament, how could she be a princess consort? The eldest or second miss would be better suited. Second aunt quickly interjected, emphasizing that Prince Yu, though widowed and older, knew how to cherish women and was a prince. Having him as family would benefit Shen Qing, and whatever happened to Shen Miao, Prince Yu would compensate the family. Her intent was clear. She was willing to sacrifice Shen Miao for her children's future. Old Madam was satisfied and asked about matchmaking. Second aunt smiled, saying it was early, so they should let them get close and develop feelings before discussing marriage. Old Madam understood, guessing Prince Yu only wanted a fling, not to marry her as a formal consort. She smiled, agreeing to let Shen Miao get close to Prince Yu, avoiding force to prevent angering her father when he returned. That night, Shen Miao was in her room preparing to write. Seeing her sigh, Guyu tried to comfort her. Don't worry, young miss. If Prince Yu really has bad intentions, we'll protect you with our lives. If there's no other way, your father still has friends in the capital. Shen Miao shook her head. Prince Yu is royalty. No matter how good those friendships are, no one would dare oppose the imperial family to protect me. Jingji suggested, should we write to the general? He's busy with the war, but the young master has no orders. He could return to the capital without penalty and protect you. Shen Miao shook her head again. Even if Big Brother rode day and night, it'd take over a month to get here. Do you think they'd wait that long? Don't worry, I have a plan. I won't let myself be manipulated like in my past life, she thought. Prince Yu is royalty. He'll be my first target. She glanced out the window and saw the plump silhouette of Guimomo lurking outside, eavesdropping. Shen Miao clenched her fists. It was time to clean out the rot in her own backyard. The next day, at Baixiang House, a notorious den of vice, Prince Yu impatiently asked his guard, have you arranged things with the Shen family? Your Highness, everything's set with Second Madam. The Shen ladies will visit Wolong Temple to offer incense in 3 days. 3 days, Prince Yu grumbled, his face darkening. After a moment, he said, prepare everything. It's been a while since I've found someone this intriguing. His words were overheard by 2 men in a private room across the hall. Gao Yang looked at Xia Jingxing with amusement. Seems the young lady you saved is in trouble again. Xia Jingxing, in his usual purple robes, replied lazily. The Shen family's a tall tree catching the wind. This is Shen Xin's own doing. It's just a challenge. Sooner or later, no one will protect them. Gao Yang's expression turned serious. See, why'd you injure your brothers at the banquet? Are you speeding up the plan? The longer I wait, the worse it gets for me. If the mountain won't come to me, I'll go to the mountain. Gao Yang blinked, then grinned slyly. Fine. I'm just here to watch you, not stop you. But 3 days from now, don't you have to go to Wolong Temple to investigate something? Maybe you'll get another chance to play hero. Xia Jingxing thought of the girl with sharp, blazing eyes and smiled. Gao Yang, your judgment's as bad as ever. That Shen girl isn't someone who needs saving. After the banquet, students at Guangwen Academy treated the new Shen Miao with a mix of fear and respect. Those who once mocked her now kept their distance. Especially Kai Lin, traumatized, who fled at the sight of her. Feng Anning found it hilarious. I didn't expect that bully to be so scared of you. By the way, I heard the Z brothers were badly injured, but Marquis Ding didn't punish young Marquis C at all. Shen Miao feigned interest. Where'd you hear that? I overheard my parents talking, but I guess everyone would favor young Marquis. After all, he's Princess Yu Qing's son. Shen Miao suspected there was more to it, but she kept her thoughts to herself. She saw Pei Lang surrounded by students and her expression hardened. Though he hadn't presented the treatise on legal reform at the banquet, he was still a major threat. She had to be cautious and ensure he never joined Fu Shuyi's side. For now, she lacked the power to quietly eliminate him, so she needed another way. On the way back, the carriage stopped at a bakery on the capital's busiest street. Guyu happily hopped out to buy Shen Miao's favorite pastries. Suddenly, a loud voice cut through the street's noise. I said 10 taels of silver. Take it or leave it. It's just a sword. Don't hassle a commoner. Jingji peered out from the carriage, seeing a pawnshop worker arguing with a customer. Shen Miao didn't care, but then she saw the man who'd argued with the worker turn away, clutching a sword. Her eyes widened. Jingji, stop him, she said urgently. Tell him I want his sword. Meeting him so early in this life was a gift. She had to recruit him immediately. Jingji quickly brought the young man to the carriage. Young miss, here he is. The man spoke bluntly to the person inside the carriage. My sword's too sharp and heavy, not suitable for a young lady. Before he could finish, Shen Miao cut him off. What's your name? The man froze. The voice from the carriage sounded young but carried the weight of someone seasoned. He hesitated, then clasped his hands. My name is Moqing. It was him. Shen Miao was thrilled, but her next words were deliberately provocative. I'm not interested in your sword. A piece of scrap metal has no value to me. Moqing's face flushed with anger. But remembering his desperate situation, he held back. This sword was made by a master smith. It's my most precious possession. If you called me here just to insult me, I'll take my leave. He turned to go, but a sigh from the carriage stopped him. Moqing, you're in dire need of money, aren't you? Your sword may be worthless to me, but your swordsmanship is worth 1,000 taels of gold. To be so poor that you'd sell the sword you've carried for years. What a waste of talent. Moqing, would you sell your swordsmanship to me? I'm Shen Miao, the legitimate daughter of the great general. She lifted the carriage curtain and looked at him. Moqing was stunned. How did she know he was a master swordsman? And when she said his name, he felt a strange familiarity, as if he'd known her from somewhere. Miss, have we met before? He asked instinctively. Shen Miao couldn't speak of her past life. She just shook her head. When my father returns to the capital at year's end, I can recommend you. Take this silver for now. In 3 days, come to the Shen residence. You'll pose as an ordinary guard, but secretly protect me. Do you agree? Moqing understood her situation at home must be difficult. He was straightforward and didn't hesitate. I'll follow your orders, miss. Shen Miao smiled as she watched him walk away. Captain Moqing, she thought with a touch of nostalgia. It's been a long time. Back at West Courtyard, she met the scheming Gui Momo. Young miss is back. I told the kitchen to make sweet soup for you. Shen Miao, not wanting to alert her yet, agreed. Thank you. Jingji went to fetch the soup, but Gui Momo lingered and followed them inside. Young miss, Gui Momo began, probing. Everything for the Wolong Temple trip in 3 days is ready. Is there anything else you need? Shen Miao glanced at her. You seem very excited about this trip. It's rare for you to leave the residence, Gui Momo said, playing the loyal servant. Of course, everything must be perfect. Shen Miao suddenly smiled. With you and second aunt arranging things, I'm sure it will be. If there's nothing else, you may go. Gui Momo nodded, but Shen Miao's smile left her uneasy. As she left, she glanced at the maids with disdain. Strange. Being near Shen Miao lately felt oppressive, like standing before a superior. No matter, she thought. In 3 days, let's see how arrogant you are then. In the room, Shen Miao poured the sweet soup into a flower pot. She didn't dare eat anything Gui Momo brought her. Bailu was anxious. Miss, are you really going to Wolong Temple? I'm going, Shen Miao replied. She recalled her past life. It was at this very moment that she overheard the servants in the Nungjing Hall talking about old madam's plan to marry her off to Prince Yu. The night before the trip to Wolong Temple, she had fled to beg Prince Ding for help. Though that choice was a mistake, it had saved her from a disaster. This time, she wouldn't run or hide. She would go to Wolong Temple. Those who wanted to see her humiliated would end up as the main characters in their own tragedy. 3 days passed quickly. Early in the morning, second aunt gathered everyone to set off. But Shen Miao stood at the gate, refusing to move. Shen Miao, why aren't you getting in the carriage? Second aunt asked, frowning. I think we don't have enough guards. Shen Yue and Shen Qing, fully aware of the trip's true purpose, were eager to leave. We're not royalty, Shen Miao. What kind of entourage do you expect? Shen Miao ignored them and pointed at 2 guards near the gate. Add 2 more. Those ones. Second aunt didn't want to waste time. 2 extra guards wouldn't change anything. She agreed. She didn't know that these 2 seemingly ordinary men would be the downfall of her entire plan. With Moqing now by her side, Shen Miao smiled. Thank you, second aunt. She climbed into the carriage. They traveled all day and reached Wolong Temple at sunset. Shen Qing, seeing the deserted path, was about to complain when second aunt shot her a warning glance. This place seems quiet, but the Buddha here is very sacred. Be sincere when you offer incense. They met the head monk, who assigned them rooms. Here are the keys to your rooms. Find the one that matches the symbol on the key. When it was Shen Miao's turn, there were no keys left for the south wing rooms. A middle-aged monk beside the head monk said, "My apologies, there are no rooms left in the south wing. If the young lady doesn't mind, we have a room in the north tower." Everyone looked at Shen Miao. She knew this was part of their plan. She smiled. "Actually, I do mind. This temple doesn't seem crowded. How can an entire wing be full?" The head monk gave an awkward laugh. "We may not have many guests, but we have many monks." Shen Miao feigned fear. "But I'm scared to stay alone. Why don't you join me in the north tower, second aunt?" Second aunt's face darkened. Shen Miao used to be easy to fool. Now she was getting harder to handle. But no matter what, this time she would ruin her.